Okay, so yeah, hopefully you'll have some time to let that sink in. Any questions on that? Obviously, this is just like a very, very basic, brief understanding of it. We'll get into much more detail, and hopefully, you'll end up like me, where you won't really be able to draw anything other than line angle. Like for me now, if you show me like this condensed formula that we have, like I'll just be like, no, I can't. Like I can't. My mind won't allow me to, I guess, visualize it unless I see line angle. So some people, they still even they'll finish Orgo 1, Orgo 2, and they still prefer condensed formula. I guess it just depends on the way your mind thinks. But uh, yeah, I guess let's do a couple more examples. This time we'll let someone volunteer. So let's just this might be too easy. I'll do this example with propanol, and then I'll give another example. So propanol looks like this. So C3H7. So remember, 3 carbons, one. So you have 1, 2, 3, and then OH. That's it. If you see this, you should know this is C3H7OH. So if you were to draw this out, there's a hydrogen here, hydrogen here, hydrogen here, hydrogen here, 3 hydrogens. But again, drawing out each of these hydrogens is like, it's considered excessive because you don't have to. It's assumed you just drew this. It's understood that this is the same thing as that. But now the important thing, I didn't mention this, you should never assume, so we're able to assume hydrogen without showing the hydrogen if it's bonded to carbon, like here. But there's no way to assume a hydrogen's bonded to this oxygen because oxygen could be bonded to anything. So that's an important distinction. Don't think, oh, okay, this is OH, I can just draw O. If you're already drawing the O, show the H. Or if there's, for example, NH3. Anytime you have hydrogen that is bonded to carbon, you have to show it. But just in general, if you have carbon with hydrogen coming off, it's understood that carbon, whatever the formal charge of that carbon is, you can determine how many hydrogens are bonded to it. I know it seems like a lot of work right now, especially like doing this whole algebra thing, but you'll realize over time, like it'll click immediately. If you'll see, oh, carbon having a plus formal charge, that means it's missing a bond. Its octet is not full. You see carbon with a negative charge, that means it has a lone pair instead of having 4 bonds. So yes, its octet is full, but it doesn't have 4 bonds like we want it to have. So that's the general, very brief understanding of line angle. We'll get into more detail later on, but let's do, I guess, one more example, and we can perhaps wrap it up with that. So let me find, I guess, a more challenging one. There's a good one that I saw. Oh, okay. So this one's actually a little bit mean, but it's okay. So you have, let me do this. CH2, CH, y'all are gonna hate me for this. CHOH in parentheses. CH2CO2H. Okay, if y'all get this right, I'll be very impressed, but don't worry if you don't. I'll give y'all a couple minutes to try and figure this out. So that's CH2. Let me draw it out because my handwriting is hard to read. I'll give you a hint. Depending on how many hydrogens are shown, that's sometimes a good idea of knowing if you're going to have single bonds or double bonds or what. An orbital workshop.
You actually want with it?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I got 5 of us. Say hello, everyone. They're busy.
But it can.
Yeah,
Can.
there's mix.
And put it in here.
Oh, no. Any ideas?
No.
All right, so let's just start this together then. So you have CH2. So let's first let's just do the carbons. So you have 1 carbon here, 1 carbon here, 1 carbon here. So you have something that looks like that. And then you have an O. So that's going to play a role somehow. But let's come back to that. Then you have 1 carbon here, 1 carbon here. So now our carbons are taken care of. But now what's left is what's coming off the carbons, which is either a hydrogen, or you have an OH group here. That's what the parentheses tell you. Or you have this O2H thing. The O2H thing, we'll come back to that because you might not know how to do that until Orgo 2 anyways. But it's good to get in the habit of that anyways. So here at the start, we have CH2 bonded to CH. So normally, if you have a carbon at the end, how many hydrogens do we say you want it to be bonded to?
3.
3. The fact that it's 2 tells you what?
That it's a double bond.
Nice. You'll do that. So now we can show this. Again, you don't have to show the carbons or the hydrogens. It's assumed there's double bond. That carbon only has 2 hydrogens because there's only 2 bonds left that it can be bonded to. Okay, so now you have a carbon here. How many hydrogens is this carbon going to be bonded to?
2.
How many bonds does it have right now?
That's 3.
It has 3, right?
So I only need 1.
Exactly, only 1. That hydrogen that's shown right next to it. So this carbon has 2 hydrogens. The carbon next to it has 1 hydrogen. So we're good so far. So now we're going to look at the next carbon, which is this one. Okay. Okay. So for this carbon, I think we're missing a carbon actually. You have this carbon, this carbon. Oh, okay, yeah. So this carbon has an H, but what else do you think is going to be bonded to this carbon? Since right now it has 2 bonds plus the H, so it has 3 total bonds. So what is it missing? Normally we would say it's missing another hydrogen, right?
The OH.
Exactly. So because there's only 1 hydrogen, you assume that the functional group with the OH here is the other thing that's coming off. I'll do it like this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're at this. Now we're at this carbon. It says CH2. So we see two things that it's bonded to, which means these two hydrogens coming off. So that makes sense. Nothing special about that one. And then we get to this last carbon, and this is where it gets kind of tricky. CO2H. What do you think that can possibly be? So you have a carbon here. Your initial instinct might be something that looks like this. Maybe, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, this carbon only has two bonds. And right now, oxygen, it's happy because oxygen likes two bonds and two lone pairs. But obviously, there's no point of the oxygen being happy if the carbon is not happy. So you'll find no matter what you try to do, there's no way to make this work with CO2H. You could count the Lewis structure, you could count out the total number of valence, it wouldn't work. So we have to try something else. What if we try something like this? Now what? Now oxygen has three lone pairs here, has two lone pairs here, and now this carbon has a lone pair. So what do we know about carbon?
It doesn't like lone pairs.
Correct. And what do we know about oxygen?
It can do double bonds.
It can go bonds, but what's
Like
specific about lone?
two lone pairs.
Huh?
It's only like two lone pair groups.
Exactly. So we'll keep this in mind. Carbon likes 0 lone pairs. LP. Oxygen likes 2 lone pairs, and nitrogen likes 1 lone pair. For each of these have a 0 formal charge. This is the general rule of thumb. These are the 3 main elements, especially carbon and oxygen. So what we can do, erase this lone pair, and draw a double bond. So C double bond O, OH, and that would be the correct way to draw the structure. Now, without all the hydrogens, it would look like this. See, doesn't that look much nicer than the first one?
Potatoes.
But yeah, essentially they are the same thing. Both you would get credit for. But again, the thing you're gonna realize with beans exams especially, it's all free response, which means the way you do it, you take your exam Friday night, 7 p.m. That whole weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the graders, the TAs, they're spending that weekend like just going hardcore grading your exams. And so when they're grading it, you want to make their life grading it as easy as possible. Because if there's anything, they're grading pretty fast. If there's like what, 300, there's 600 total of you. So they're grading this as fast as possible. Obviously, they're trying to be as efficient as possible, but you want to make their lives as easy as possible, so they give you as much credit as possible. So sometimes if you draw it like the first way, especially if you're like me, you have bad handwriting, there's a very high chance that they'll take points off when you actually deserve the points. So for me, I like line angle because it involved less drawing of letters. So for you, if some people have neat handwriting, it works out for them by all means. But I always thought line angle was the easiest for. So yeah. Yeah. So like with the OH and the H, sometimes it gets kind of hard to see. Where here you just have the OH, it's easier. Okay. There is a worksheet. It might be too early to look at it, but I'll post it in the group. it's just kind of some more practice drawing Lewis structures, determining polarity, and formal charge. If y'all want, I'll send this in the group, and then we can go over it on next workshop on Monday. Just because I don't want to go give y'all too much information when you haven't even covered the notes yet. But it is something good to perhaps start doing on the weekend, and something that'll give us to talk about on Monday. And then, depending on how far she gets in the notes, we can decide. I'll decide what to cover. If not, review this or cover new material. But okay, any final questions about formal charge or Lewis structures or line angle? Speak now or chat now. Any other general questions about life? I'll answer philosophy questions. Okay. As always, you're always free to either post in the chat or message me privately. Again, I still don't understand. There's 12 people in the chat, 5 people, 6 people coming to these sessions, so we got something going on. The thing I was going to mention with payment, just like how payment is due, technically you have until like the 12th day or whatever. We'll wait until then to figure that out. But of course, the sooner the better. We are going to do a session. I really do hope we can at least get 8 people. But if worst case scenario we get like 5 or 6, I guess that's fine. But I'd much rather prefer more. But okay, yeah. If y'all have any questions, we can wrap it up then. I will see y'all Monday. Let me know what happens in class tomorrow. Just keep me posted in the group. But yeah, other than that, good luck with the rest of your first week back in school. Yeah.
Bye.